I'm going to show you guys how to speak so that she stops testing and starts trusting. Okay, so reason why I'm able to do this is because not only I do this for the men I've worked with, countless men I've worked with, but I'm a men's consultant, I'm a husband, and again, I thrive on understanding how to build healthy dynamics with not just my own personal relationships but multiples across online. I've currently amounted up to 3.4 million views online just on TikTok alone, 4,000 plus on YouTube, and yeah, again, people reach out to me privately because of this stuff. Okay, so again, this is my story. So I used to think that the reason why she tested me is because she was difficult, right? So that comes down to any of the women I've been with. Whenever there was a test that I could clearly see was going to trigger me, the reason why that was happening is because clearly they were just being difficult. Like, why are they so simple? You know, we grew up in an environment, I grew up in an environment where men are simple, women are difficult. And again, based on that, I thought that, again, as soon as that happened, it's clear, this is it, they're being difficult again. And as I realized there was this common denominator, I started to realize that actually there might be something I'm doing here that's triggering this. Okay, and that's when I realized that it wasn't necessarily them, it was more me and me being unpredictable. Okay, and again, when I then realized through understanding the laws of nature, the laws of universal laws, masculinity and femininity in its principles, in its core, I started to realize that it's not that my calm was conditional, and because that was conditional, so was their trust. And again, that led me into this spiral where I was trying to understand, why is it that when I'm composed, there's like a domino effect, everything is good? And then why is it that when I'm not composed, again, a domino effect, everything gets worse? So it's like one thing leads to another. I'm triggered, she's triggered, and then bam, we've got a massive disagreement. Now, this is the part that no one teaches men. This is what I've dedicated my life's work in doing. I've made a book. It's now available on Amazon. Again, the link is in the description. But what I do is I teach what no one's teaching men, which is you can't demand trust from a woman when your tone keeps betraying your insecurities. You can't demand trust from a woman when your tone keeps betraying the very things you're trying to say. You cannot demand trust when your very tone is betraying your nervous system. You cannot demand trust if your nervous system is betraying you. You've betrayed yourself by the way you come across. Imagine you've got a wingman, right? You're at a club or you're at a bar and you've got a wingman, and the wingman starts spilling stuff and starts saying, oh yeah, do you know what, I don't think his wife would like this, bearing in mind you're single, right? Or you know what, he's just recovered from a heartbreak, he really, really loved her, this is his first night out since he broke up with her, right? So saying things that you know are just not going to freaking work, right? That's exactly what you do every single time you open your mouth with your nervous system. Your nervous system is your wingman, you're just not using them. And you guys enter that same conversation and your nervous system is going in this direction, and then what you're saying is going in that direction, and then by the time you open your mouth, it comes up in a complete, it's like you had a strategy for this, and then as soon as you open your mouth, it says this, it's like, okay, cool, what the heck is he saying? And this is why, again, for the life of me, I couldn't figure out why people kept telling me this, right? It's not what you said. What you said is actually correct, because I've always kind of been into books ever since I was 16. The first book my uncle gave me, I can't find it. I think it's somewhere here, actually. Yeah, here it is. So that's how you know, guys, it's not scripted. So this is the first book my uncle gifted me at the age of 16, and I have read it. Cool. So I need you to understand that, again, a lot of my insight, a lot of my knowledge comes from books no one wants to read. That's the truth. That's my unfair advantage. I've dedicated years in trying to understand books, videos, boring stuff. I'm talking about 11-hour documentaries sometimes. That's crazy. Anyways, I digressed. You see, you need to understand that a lot of times when you're having these disagreements, the very first thing their biology, or the very first thing they start to look for is stability. Where is this guy's stability? Is this guy coming across in a way that allows me to feel safe? Can I relax in this conversation? And the moment your tension projects that I need that reassurance, you cannot reassure someone when you're the one that needs reassurance. It's like, how can you make someone... Sorry, it just feels uncomfortable. So how can you reassure someone when you're the one that needs reassurance? Right? And that's what happens when we try to simplify our identity and we disregard the things that seem complicated about who we are as men. Right? Instead of trying to dissect and making things simple by increasing our awareness and still understanding that despite how complicated we are as human beings, there's still easier ways to dissect what we do. We disregard everything and just try to simplify it, and that's not how it works. If you are running a business, do you just disregard whatever's difficult and then just focus on the simple things? That's not how you run a business, is it? No, you make the difficult things simple, or you delegate them to someone that knows how to do it. And this is why I do the consultations. Again, I make the difficult things simple because that's what I decided to focus on, right? So I learned this the hard way. The truth of the matter is that whenever you have a disagreement, whenever you're trying to come across, they're not looking for reassurance, they're looking for stability. That reassurance comes once that stability has been established. No reassurance, no stability, no reassurance. Because they're saying, okay, cool, how's this person going to reassure me when they're not even sure about themselves? Right? So understand that the foundation of any disagreement you have is, how do I get myself back into stability? Cool. So I remember times where I won arguments and it's like it was a bittersweet victory because the back and forth took the taste out of the victory. Right? Sometimes you're here fighting logic. I can't remember a specific argument, but we know we've had many. And again, sometimes you win these arguments and you think, yeah, why doesn't that feel good? Right? And the reason why is because you won the argument, but you lost the connection. See, I need you to understand something, right? A lot of us men forget we don't care about being stable, we don't care about reassuring. We get into this competitive bubble where we just want to win. And when that is your sole goal, no amount of victories are going to replace the stability that relationship finds in understanding that, let me just get stable, and then let me just give some reassurance, and then let me connect, right? That there is a much stronger foundation for your leadership to thrive than you just focusing on winning. You may win argument after argument. That's not going to guarantee your leadership. And I used to think that. I used to think, in fact, that because I always won all those arguments, that made me smarter than my ex-partner. Not realizing that every single argument I was winning was taking the safety away from that relationship. Why? Because in those arguments, I was tense. I ignored it. In those arguments, I was angry. I ignored it. In those arguments, I was logical. I was disconnected. I ignored it. So I had a pile of trophies that meant nothing for my relationship. This is exactly how, when we do all these connections, exercises that I do with the couples I work with, we realize how disconnected we've been this whole time. Right? So the real reason why she keeps testing you is because your words have outgrown your behavior. You say great things, but your behavior, that's what needs working on. Right? So you speak with power, but then act with panic. Right? You're still utilizing your negative emotions to project your words. And it's coming across distorted because that's not your intention. So understand these things. Okay, so I'm going to make it very simple. Number one, you need to pause before you respond. All right? This is what I done. This is what I told my clients to do. But you need to understand that before you react, there's a process to that reaction. What is the outcome? If the outcome isn't clear, don't take action. I want to connect here. then take action, because that turns that reaction into a response. What is the outcome? Once you understand the objective and the outcome, or whatever it is you want, that's when you then take action. If you don't have a clear outcome of what you want from the situation, do not take action, right? Then anchor your tone before you explain, right? Again, this is something I learned whilst I was in the choir singing and stuff like that. But a lot of your voice comes from the abs upwards, right? So when you're projecting, or whenever you're saying things, you want to understand where it comes from, so that when it projects, it can come in a much more effective way than you just hoping that it lands because of how you want to come across, right? Listening to trust is how safe she feels. You need to have the 5 pillars that clearly establish the healthy dynamics in that relationships. And I'm going to go through them very briefly, but I have gone through that in some of the videos I've shared in the past. But again, you've got leadership alignment, you've got value alignment, you've got accountability, you've got emotional intelligence, you've got unhealed trauma tools, right? These are the 5 pillars. And and with the last one in particular, you've got healthy conflict dynamics, or go-to tools. And if you don't have these 5, I'm going to suggest you subscribing so that you can dive in and understand a bit more about these 5, so that you can build that foundation that can allow your relationship to thrive, right? But once you have these 5 and you're still having these relationship issues, that's when you understand, okay, I have these 5, now it's time for me to build a stable ground. Okay, first of all, I build myself. I am on stable ground. I know who I am, I know where I'm going, and I know what I want to do today. Okay, that is stability. All right, you don't need a massive plan, you don't need a massive massive wall. No, you just need to, this is what I'm going to do today, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to execute. I'm going to be the man that says what he does, right? So these are things that you need to implement in order for you to create the stability. And as you tally this up, you're going to create this grounded persona that doesn't open his mouth unless he means what he says, right? So she's going to start to trust you more when you create that stability within yourself first. And this is done through the recalibration I talk about in the videos I've done, in my book, and in my private consultations. You need to build that stability within yourself. Okay? Now, once you understand how to do that, you're going to be shocked at how fast she starts trusting you again. Because you've gained clarity within yourself. You've cleared up the message, that you've gone inside the room, the emotional room that you've ignored for years because no one taught you to tidy it up. Not knowing that your partner, your wife, is always looking at that room and saying it's a freaking mess, but you won't let me in because you're ashamed of how it looks. So now the recalibration is about you going inside that room, knowing that it's full of shame, knowing that it's full of guilt, but despite that, picking up the nasty stuff and starting to put it all together. So that the next time you look at it, look, this feels good, this is tidy. I know exactly how I'm feeling. You can't shake me out of it because it's clear. I know exactly what I'm standing on. You can see the floor. There's no more clothes on the ground, right? It's tidy. The room is tidy. Cool. So I hope this has helped you. I hope this added value to you. I want to make these videos as practical as possible because I understand I can talk a lot, and sometimes I don't know, but on TikTok I shorten it, but here I like to blah 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 blah. I'm doing that right now, fortunately. But guys, look, I'm done for today, and yeah, if this has added value to you, please leave in the comments. I really hope this helps you navigate in the better ways. And if you're interested in the one-to-one, please DM me on Instagram, McDowellOfficial, or email me. My email's info@mcdowellc, or of course buy the book if you want to support the movement. Guys, we've grown sporadically. I've gone past 1,000 subscribers, and I appreciate you guys for that, because I wouldn't be able to be that without you guys organically just looking at my stuff and then picking to subscribe. If you haven't, I'd ask if you can support by subscribing. That means a lot to me, especially if you are someone that comes back regularly. And I'd like to hear from you guys in regards to how you're finding the videos. I want to grow with you guys, and I want to support you guys. If there's any specific issues, I know that in the past someone asked me for a video on resetting my nervous system, a video which I've done. And yeah, listen, anything you guys need help with, let me know, and I'm happy to share what worked for me so that it can work for you too. All right, so the evolution is upon us, gentlemen, and I'll see you in the next one.